So we've basically finished up the E3 not E3 time when all of these presentations were happening. And with the most recent Nintendo Direct, I think we pretty much have a pretty good look at what's to come in the second half of 2023 for most of these different companies. And it keeps coming up time and time again just how good 2023 looks for gaming, and it's becoming harder and harder to dispute the potential of this being one of, if not the best years in gaming. And really, after I sat down and looked at even the second half of 2023 while keeping the first half in mind, I mean, I'm getting pretty close to agreeing. So I wanted to go over some of that, though, here with you guys today. So if you enjoy the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump over here to Game Informer, who does a very good job keeping up a list of games coming up, or ones that have at least been announced but don't even have a release date yet, and they order them pretty well by month. And at times I'll come back here and scroll through after we have like a major event take place, and they'll kind of fill in the different spots and order them. And it is pretty impressive to scroll through and see just how many games come out in a given month. And there are many that I don't even notice or don't have time to see or anything. So it's not as interesting to go back and just kind of check out what some of these weird off-the-wall games are. But it took me a while, obviously, to scroll through and get to June, where we are now. And I mean, the final big, I guess you'd say, quote unquote, big release for the first half of this year that was really hyped up was Final Fantasy 16, right? And that came out this past week, and it came out to a Metacritic score of 88. And I know people don't look at Metacritic score as like the be all end all, but we try to at least judge the games based on a single metric. Most people go to Metacritic because it's been around for as long as it has, so it at least has that backing of history, I guess, so you can go back and compare games. And I did notice that there was some disappointment in the 88 for Final Fantasy 16, which is kind of strange because an 88 is a good score for a game. I mean, it really is. But then I'll admit, I looked at 2023, and an 88 for Final Fantasy 16 puts it, I believe, at number 8 when you take into account games that are like complete editions necessarily, or compilations of previously released content put out again, and it basically gets the same review score as the game when it came out years ago, that sort of thing. But if you look at the titles ahead of it, I mean, it's pretty good, and that's a first half of a year. So Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime Remastered, Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4, Dead Space, and Hi-Fi Rush all coming in above that 88. In fact, as of now, there are 5 games that have broken in above 90. Like, that's really impressive for an entire year, let alone the first 6 months of a year. And I'm looking at this. So we're finishing up June. I mean, like the Sonic Origins Plus that just came out, so we've been right here. And there's AEW Fight Forever, I guess, coming up. Ghost Trick, that's kind of cool. But then we get into July, and I was going through just kind of picking out the games that I'm at least somewhat interested in. And obviously, people are going to be more interested in other games than other people and stuff. But like Guilt is coming over from Stadia. Remember that it was locked to that platform specifically, and now it's making the jump to PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, PC. So no Switch on that one. But then the Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie, that's PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. Exoprimal, that's got Game Pass written all over for me. And Pikmin 4, which big release there. But then I see like Remnant 2, Ratchet & Clank is going to PC, Double Dragon Gaiden. I mean, there's still a lot of good stuff there. And then we get into August, and like WrestleQuest, which looks kind of interesting. I mean, it's fun, an idea of a turn-based RPG for a wrestling game. Sure, why not? Then the Atlas Fallen that I kind of forgot about, and I mean, here it is coming up in August. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, Immortals of Avium, that did get pushed into August from July. Armored Core 6 still coming. Sea of Stars, which the demo is really cool. So yeah, I have that one absolutely on my radar. Baldur's Gate 3, that's been building up in early access for a while now, trying to smooth everything out and have it prepared for that 1.0 launch. Then you go up to September, and like Starfield, the Crew Motorfest, Batten Kaitos 1 and 2, Lies of P, Mortal Kombat 1, Payday 3. Again, the 2023 just keeps going. And then check out October. This is kind of ridiculous. Especially because of that last direct. It really seemed to solidify like that middle portion of October. So Disgaea 7, which I do like picking up all the different Disgaea games, so I'll grab that one. But like there's Detective Pikachu, Silent Hope. Well, I was looking at it, I don't know if it's like my kind of thing, but I saw some people interested in it. Forza Motorsport, Assassin's Creed Mirage, right? So that's October 10th, then October 12th, then Lords of the Fallen in October 13th, still in that same week. Then Alan Wake 2 within 7 days of Forza Motorsport. And then you go up to Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Brothers Wonder on the same day, October 20th. I don't know where people are going to find the time for this kind of stuff, because then you go right into Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, which has a bunch of Metal Gear Solid games in there that I figure now the newer generation coming in hasn't really experienced those games, and that is an awesome set of titles to pick up there. Then you have the Alone in the Dark, the remake that they're doing. Go into November, and Star Ocean's second story kicks it off immediately. November 2nd, going right into WarioWare. November 3rd, Like a Dragon Gaiden, November 9th. Hogwarts Legacy will at least be somewhat interesting to see how it functions on the Switch, considering it's been basically pushed back twice now, really. So that could be one of those impossible ports or a devastating port. We'll still see. But then Persona 5 Tactica and Super Mario RPG are out on the same day, and I want to play both of them, so that's tough. I kind of have to go with Super Mario RPG. But then you go to December, and it's still not over yet. Dragon Quest Monsters, which I'm actually kind of interested to go back to that series to see what they do with this one. Last time I played it was back on the DS. I think it was Joker. I think it was that one I played. But then like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I'm not a big Avatar person, but I might want to check that one out just to see what's going on there, because that's December 7th. That might be the last big release for the year to close out 2023. And then these are all games that don't have actual release dates. So some of them may just say fall 2023 or holiday 2023. An example being Batman Arkham Trilogy on the Switch, or Assassin's Creed Nexus VR. Age of Empires 4. We know there's a new Call of Duty coming out this year. That hasn't been revealed yet. So you just kind of scroll through here and you're like, wow, there are so many of these titles that could also just be dropped in. A Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. That's supposed to be coming out at some point this year. At least I feel like it's. Helldivers 2, same deal. So I kind of think we have this list, right, of games, and it's looking pretty good. But then you start inserting more titles in there, and it's like, how much more packed are you going to be able to get a month like October? I feel like November, you can still probably drop some releases in there, and that's kind of where I think we may see Call of Duty fall in. But like September and October, which are big months that usually get targeted for these holiday releases, are already incredibly crowded. But going back to the idea of 2023 maybe being set up to be one of the best years ever in gaming, I guess it does come back to how do you judge something like that? And I guess I'd look at it as quantity of releases, so it feels like there's stuff coming out consistently for that year, and then quality, which, I mean, we're seeing some of these reviews come in for titles in the 90s now. I mentioned there's 5 games already breaking into the 90s, with, at this point, 91 being Diablo 4, and that's the 5th spot. So to get into that 5th spot or knock it off there, you have to hit above a 91. There's a good chance that at the end of the year, everything that'll be in that Game of the Year conversation, we'll say, for the Video Game Awards, will have an average score of a 90 on Metacritic. And I don't really know many years where that's happened. So just from the quantity and the quality, and again, we're halfway through the year, we'll see how some of these games turn out. With, to me, right now, the biggest focus and question mark is indeed Starfield, because that could be massive for Bethesda and Microsoft. I mean, one way or the other. We saw what happened with Redfall. I'm not expecting this to be like Redfall, but the expectations are heightened for something like Starfield, so it could come out and be good, but it could also be good like how Final Fantasy 16 is, where people see that 88 and they go, oh, really, that's all? Even though 88's a really good score, the expectations are very high for it. So, wow, the second half of this year is it's going to be something. Also, we have a lot of fighting games this year. It's not going to turn into a Jump Force situation. I mentioned titles that could be coming out this year. There's a possibility that we could see a new Street Fighter, a new Mortal Kombat, and a new Tekken. At this point, it all relies on Tekken making it into 2023. That would be a really cool matchup at the end of the year for like the fighting game of the year, to have those three big franchises go up against each other. But wow, what a year. And maybe we're realizing even halfway through that we could be in one of the best years in gaming. But I am curious what people think now, especially after all the festivities of, we'll say, just June, not E3, all these showcases happening, looking towards the second half. How are you feeling right now about 2023? And do you think the potential is there for it to be maybe the greatest year in gaming? Let me know. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.